Hello everyone. In this tutorial I would like to show you how to create or make a simple Java application. So in our previous tutorials we have shown the if-else examples or the for loops examples and as well as do-while loop examples. So in this tutorial we will create a basic Java application using those conditional logics that we have illustrated before, like that if-else. So in doing so, we will create a odd-even application. So here we have some screenshots. Like in our created applications, we want to create such an application that will take an integer value from the user, and then if I click this check button, then the application will check that the integer value that is it odd or even, and the result will be printed here. And I can quit from this application by clicking this exit button. So this is like some basic tutorial like how we can build graphical user interface or the GUI for the users, or how can we create an application in Java. So while we're doing so, first, in creating a Java in simple order if an application, we will learn the basic use of a J button, that is a button, or the J labels, like these text labels, and the J text field, that is these text fields here. So let's get started. And also in this tutorial, we will learn to build a .jar file. Okay, so what is it, and why we want to build a .jar file or jar file, that I will explain in the tutorial. So let's get started. So in the very beginning, first of all, I will open my NetBeansIDE. And as before, I will create an application or a project. So I will click new project, and under the category of Java, I want to create a Java application. So I'll click next, and here I am naming my application as odd even app. Okay, and I will save my application on my desktop. So finish. Okay, so now in order to get started the coding, first of all, I would like to tell that this is our class. This is the class that is named as odd even app, and right now I will not require this segment, so I will just clean this or delete this one. And within my project or application, if I go here and I right click it, I can enter a JFrame form. So as I want to create a GUI or an application, so I need to create a JFrame form first. So I will just click here, and then the NetBeansIDE will prompt me to enter the class name. So I will just enter the class name as UI, and I will click finish. Okay, so now we can see that besides this odd even app.java and this public class, we have a UI.java file as well. Okay, and this is our JFrame from. Now here we can also see the name of it. This is JFrame, this one. So within this JFrame, we can design our application. So how to do that? In here we can see that we have a source view and a design view. Okay, so if I click the source view, within this UI.java, I can write the codes in this file, and if I click this design view, I can design it here. So let me first design the application. Okay, so what we have, as I have already shown you the screenshot of our built application. So first of all, I will take a J level. So I will do it again. So I'll just delete it. Within our JFrame, first of all, I am taking a J level. So here we have some swing components. So like the labels, the buttons. So while building an application, we can take the advantage of this swing components. So first of all, I will take a J level. So I will just click and drag it in my JFrame. So here I can see that within the JFrame I have a component now that is JLabel1. So this is JLabel1, and if I right click on here, I can see I can edit the text written here. Okay, so I will just click edit text and I will write enter number. Okay, so this JLabel now holds the text, this text that is written enter number. Fine. And also as this component JLabel1, this is a component, I can also change the variable name. The variable name is, if I right click again, and I will find that this is change variable name. So if you click this change variable name, you can see the current variable for this component is set as JLabel1 here, JLabel1. So if you want to change it, you can change it like the label. Okay, and I can click OK. So now the variable name is set as label for this JLabel. Okay, so while programming, when we need to access this component, we'll just call this variable name label, and we can access the properties of it, and we can call the methods underlying it. Okay, so we have already shown you that how to change the variable name, and also how you can change the text by clicking here, right click here, and you can just go to the edit text and also change variable name. And also if you want to play with this, you can just go to these properties, and within these properties we will find several things, like you can change the foreground color, okay, and many things as well. So for this basic application we don't need these things, so I will just close this. Okay, so when we have a JLabel, we need some place here over here so that the user can enter the number, right? To do so, now from the swing components I will take a JTextField. This is a text field, so I will just again click it and drag it here. So see, now within this JFrame another component JTextField1 has been created. So similar as before, I can right click on this component and I can edit the text. So I don't want to see anything, so I will just keep it blank, and by just dragging this cursor I can change the size of my components. So this is true for all the components, like for the JLabel we have taken before, and as well as for this JTextField. So I will just set the size here as 65. Okay, fine. So this is my JLabel, and this is my JTextField where the user will enter the number. Fine. So now if I right click here, I can go to the properties, and within this JTextField properties, what I can do, that I can change the editable settings here as well. That if I click, if I uncheck this, so the user cannot edit this section. That means the user cannot enter the value. So sometimes if we need some JText fields as uneditable, then we will uncheck the property of that JText field here, and it will act as wise. But right now we need it to be as editable. So by default it was checked, so the user can access to this component and can enter the value. Okay, fine. So I'll keep this as checked because I need this as editable. And also you will see there is another property like horizontal alignment. Sorry. So the horizontal alignment is by default set as leading. So by clicking here, I can change it like center position. So now the cursor will be always aligned at the center position, not as the leading position. So within the center position, the cursor will be here. Okay, so I like this position, so I will set the horizontal alignment at center, and then I will just close this one. Fine. So this has been done. So if I will show you, if I show you the screenshot again, that we have this label, the user will enter the value here, and then we need a check button so that the user can click, and then the result can be shown here. Okay, so now I will do that part. So from the component section, we see there is a button here. So if I click it, if I click this button and I can just drag here and yes, put it here. Okay, so another component JButton, and the variable is named as JButton1 under this JFrame has been created. So I will change the text written here as check. Okay, so if I right click here as before and I can go to the properties, I can change the foreground, see the color. So if I click here within this segment, I can choose the color. So I go to this palette and from here I am choosing the color is blue. So the foreground color is blue now. See, it was black before, but now it is blue. The check is written in blue color. Okay, close. So after this button, we need to create another text field. So I will go again and take a text field. And I will resize it as well. And I don't need any text written here. So within this text field, I will see, or the user will see the result after clicking the check button. And this JTextField, if I right click here, I can go to the properties of it. And now I will make it uneditable. So I will uncheck this. Okay, I don't need this editable because here the result will appear. So the user doesn't need to delete this or change anything that is written here. So I will make it uneditable. And also I will make the horizontal alignment at center position as before. Okay, so now we can close it. Okay, fine. And finally, I will create an exit button. So I will go and pick another button that will act as an exit option. Fine, so we are all set with the user interface over here. And now I will just resize this whole JFrame. So how can we do that? For an example, if I just right click here, if I just double click here, I can define the size. So I want this size as to be like small, so just type 15, and I don't want this resizable. I will make it fixed. Okay, so you see the JFrame size has been changed as well. In the bottom portion, I will also make it 15, and in this section, I will also change it as 15. Top position, I will make it 15. Okay, so this is my whole design of the user interface. A very simple design, right? Okay, and here by clicking this button, the preview design, if you click it, you can see it. Okay, the design preview is here. That enter number is here, so the user will enter the value, and then if the user click the check button, the result will appear here, and if the user click exit button, we will exit from this application. So this is just the design preview that how it is going. Okay, so I'll close this. Fine, so this is already done. So let's go back to the screenshot so that I can make it clear for some point that, for an example, here we're seeing that our application title or the name of the application is set as odd or even, right? As this is an odd even application. So how we can change it, or how we can add this? We will go to the source section of this UI.java. And if I click this source section, before this initializing components, I will just write super odd or even. Okay, so now if I run this application, first of all, the NetBeans will ask me to select the main class, so I will select this main class. Okay, and if I run this, I'll see that yes, an odd or even application has been created. Okay, but still it has some lackings, like nothing is happening, right? Nothing is happening. So I can write it, but nothing is happening. So still we need to do code for that purpose. I will show you. So Up to this, we have created the user interface and we have put the name of the application over here. So now I will show you how to do coding for the application to be executed perfectly. Okay, so now I will go back to the main part of this application that I have shown you initially. There is a class that is public class odd-even app. So within this class, I will call the variables first of all. So okay, fine, let me put some comments. Declaring variables. So I will create two variables. Okay, so in our previous tutorials, we have already seen that how to declare variables. For an example, this is an integer variable and its name is a, and this is an integer variable, this is b. But in this simple Java application tutorial, we are declaring it as a public integer variable. So why I have written public here? Because if I declare this variable as public, now in any class, any class can access to this variable. For example, while we will use this application or the user interfaces over here, we will access to these buttons. So according to our needs, this class, this UI.java, can access to these variables as well. So this is like public properties right now. Okay, so after declaring the variables, I will create a method here. So without creating the method, I can also do or I can also create this simple application, but I will show you the intuition of creating a method. So for an example, I can create a method public void odd-even. So a method has been created whose name is odd-even. So what is a method actually? So when we are dealing or when we are creating a Java application that is a big one and that does a lot of calculations or like a lot of different operations, different sort of operations. So what we can do, we can part the whole thing by creating some methods. Okay, so these methods, as the name suggests, will deal with some specific operations, and if we call these methods, then that specific operation will be occurred within our program. For example, within this method odd-even, I will write b equals to a. Okay, remainder operator, and then 2. So if I call this odd-even method, what will the program do? The program will do or execute this part only. Okay, the statements or the operations written over here. So what we will do, for an example, if the user enters, I will show you here, if the users enter in an integer number, for an example 2 here, then my intention is that the value of a will be 2, and then I will call this method. So the value of b will be 2 equals to 0, because the remainder is 0. If I divide 2 by 2, the remainder is 0. And for another example, within this user interface here, if the user enters an integer like 11, okay, 11, so the value that we have entered, 11, will be stored within a. So this variable a is now 11, and then if I call this method odd-even within our program, the value of b will be 1, because if I divide this 11 divided by 2, then the remainder portion is 1. So this is the intuition of creating a method. Okay, fine, I will just get rid of this now. So now if I go back to this UI.java and within our design section, I just need to write code because when ever the user will access to this J button, then the operation will go on, right? Because first of all, the user will enter the value, and then if the user click this one, then the operations will go on, and the program at behind will check that the number entered here is odd or even, and the result will be published here. So all of these things actually are dependent on clicking this button. So what I will do, I will just right click here, and here you see that events. So I'll create an action performed event here, so that whenever the user makes an action on this component or on this button, then the specific some sort of program will be executed. Okay, so I will just right click it, I will just click it, and I will see that within the source segment of UI.java, this JButton1 action performed, this method has been created. Okay, so if now I write anything here, those codes will be executed if the user clicks this button. Okay, I will go back to the source again. So first of all, what do we need? First of all, if the user clicks this button, this entered number should be stored within the variable a that we have declared here, right? Okay, so going back there and source. So this is our first task. So I will call try a equals integer, and I can call the value of method. And remember, if I go to the design section, the user will enter the value here, and its variable name is JTextField1, right? Okay, so I need to get the text from there, JTextField1. So if I write down the variable JTextField1, and I can put dot symbol, then I can call the method getText. So I can click getText, and you see if I call this method, it will get the text value written in this variable or this component as a string. Okay, so what we are doing here, okay, let me explain that. First of all, the user will put a value, for an example 5 here in this JText field, and then when he clicks this, first of all I need this value written here, that is 5, to be stored in my variable a. Okay, and we have declared this previously. So I can get this value written here by calling this method, that is JTextField1.getText. That means within the JTextField1, the text will be returned. This is JTextField1. So the problem is that when this method works, it returns the string results. Like the value will be 5 here, the user is entering, but it will be returned as a string. But I need an integer value, right? So that's why I will just make this text in a string part into integer by calling this method. So if I call integer.value of, that means that this string part will be converted into the corresponding integer number. Okay, I think you got this. But now you see that this a, and there is a red line, and the program is not recognizing what is a, even though we have declared it here. So what we need to do is we need to create an instance of this class, like this class name is odd even app, remember that. So we need to create an instance of that class within this class, this UI.java. So odd even app, I will call it OE new odd even app. And then if I click Alt on my keyboard and press enter, I will see the suggestion add import. So I will just click it. Okay, so here that class odd even app will be imported within this class, and I have created an instance of that class as well here. Okay, now if I write it oe.a, then it will work. Okay, so what is going on here? That means that to access that variable that has been declared within this class, first we need to create an instance of that class in this one. So I have created that, and I have also imported that class here. Okay, this is my project name, and this is the class. So when we have the instance created, that is OE, if I just write, for an example here, OE, and I click dot, every variable declared there, or the methods, even this one, I can call it anywhere within this class. Okay, so now this is done. So when I have the value entered here by the user, so now I have stored it within my variable a, then what I need to do, then actually I need to call this method. That means this line I need to execute, so I will call this method odd even. Okay, so going back here within that button action performed, I will just call OE, and here I have this method odd even. So you see that I created that odd even method, and I can call it here now because I have created an instance of that class. I have imported that one within this class, so I can do it. Fine. Then, so two of basic things I have done here, that when the user enters an value, I have already taken that value to a variable, and then I have executed some operations that will calculate the value of b, and then I need to print the result here, this text field, and the variable for this component as declared as JTextField2. Okay, I will go back to this source again. So now I will use that if conditional logic, if and else if. So in our previous examples of odd even, we have shown you that how we can distinguish an integer that is it even or is it odd. So what we can do, we can divide it by 2, and if the remainder is 1, then it is an odd number, and if the remainder is 0, then the number is even. So here exactly we are using that logic exactly as before. Like if the b, that is our variable we have declared, holds the value 0, then the decision is that is an even number, and if b holds the remainder as 1, then it is an odd number. Okay, so if the number is even, what do we want to see in this result text field or the JTextField2? We want to print JTextField2, sorry, so JTextField2, and I can call this set text. Okay, so set text, it's a blank section, and then I can call JTextField2 set text, number is even, and if that number is odd, within this same section I want to see JTextField that the number is odd. So within that part of conditional logic I will put number is odd. Fine. Okay, so it should work. Now here again, as we are trying this, why I have entered a try. The reason I will explain you now after writing this part of code. So the thing is, here I have using a trycatch Okay, so what is this? That first of all, the code will try to execute this line, and this line commands that we need to make this part or make this string into an integer. Okay, so now for an example, if the user enters an value that is float, not integer, for an example 5.5, then the basic requirement of this application is not satisfied. We need an integer value to check it, is it even or odd. So if somehow the user puts here at like 5.5 or makes an exception like entering a float number, then I can catch that exception over here and I can print an error message without printing any result. For example, I can set the text if that exception happens as enter an integer number. So if the user makes any mistake entering a float number, then the program will suggest him that you should enter an integer number. And this exception, we are seeing a yellow line underneath. So if I click alter and enter, you see the NetBeans IDE is suggesting me to replace this catch with a more specific exception, that is number format exception. And actually we are looking for it, that is the number format exception. That means I need an integer format. If somehow the user enters that is float format, then this part will be executed. So I will just click it and replace it. So the number format exception or the exception, both will work in this section. Okay, and I can just save my file. Okay, so I will make the intuition clear, showing the screenshots as well, that if the user enters any number, he can click this check button and the result will be shown here, that is 2 is a even. And for an example here, the user has entered 77, that means the number is odd. And here I am showing another thing which still we have to do, that somehow if the user enters a negative value, okay, what will happen? Okay, I will say it later on. First of all, let me explain this. And here we are seeing within this screenshot that the user has made a mistake. He has entered a float number, that is 5.8. So if he clicks the check within that our trycatch, the exception has been catched, and the program is suggesting the user to enter an integer number, because this is not a valid number format to judge whether it is odd or even. Okay, coming back to this one, that if the user enters a number that has a negative symbol, what we can do. So in this case, for this example, what we can do, that first of all we are taking the entered number and converting it from string to integer and storing it within this A. And then what we can do, we can call the mathematical functions like the absolute, and we can take the absolute value of the entered number. For an example, now if the user enters -5, I'll write it here, -5, so the value of this A will be -5, and at the next line what it will store, it will just take the value as absolute, only 5, and then it will judge these things. Okay, so within this, writing this line, we can solve that problem, that if the user enters a negative number as shown here. Okay, so now I can save it again and let's run this program. I will play and see. Here we are seeing that we have a application that has been created, and now if I can enter the number, for example 15, user can check, okay, number is odd. Okay, fine, then 100, the user can check, number is even. 71, user can check, number is odd. Or if somehow the user enters 8.5, that is a float number which is not valid for this application, and if then he clicks check, the application will suggest enter an integer number. Okay, fine. And now within this button exit, you see nothing works. Though we have written here exit, it doesn't perform anything because we haven't created any line of programs within this button's action event. So I will just close it again, and I will show you how to do that. For example, if we go to design section as previous for this check button, you can click this exit button, this J button too, and if I right click here, I can create an action performed event for it as well. Okay, I will create that. So within the source section, I will find this J button to action performed event. So within this event, what I need to write, system I can call this exit method and 0. So now the system will quit if I press that button. I will show you. Now if I run this program, okay, this application is here. So now if I click this exit button, yes, my application is shut off or closed down. So again, if I run, so you can enter any number, for example 88, you can check it. So the program will be done background, and the user will see this interface, and this is good, pretty good, that the result is shown here. And after the user is done with this application, you can exit from this program. Again, I will run this, and you can also change, or like the closing, you can also close this application by clicking this one as well, and the name of the application is here. So 5, check, yeah, exit. Now when we are finished with this parse, I will show you something else, that if I go to any specific corner of our application, we see that there is a resize icon. Okay, for an example, if I can resize it, okay, I can resize it in anything, in any form, in any dimension. But for me, I do not like this resizing thing. So how can I prevent my application to be resized? So I will just exit from this, and I will go to the design section again, and within this JFrame, if I right click here, I can go to the properties, and within the properties, if you scroll down, you will see that there is a resizable property. Okay, and it is checked. That's why the user can resize it. But now if I uncheck it and close and save my program and run again, you will see that resizing icon will not appear. So this is fixed now. Okay, yeah, I like it. Okay, so again, if I close down this, I will show another thing. Now if I run the program, what I am seeing, that always the program is opening at the top left corner of our screen, right here, and then I am dragging it here again. Okay, see, at the top left corner it's always opening. So I want my application to be opened within the center point of my screen. So how can I do that? So I can go to my JFrame properties like before, and within the properties I can go to this code tab, just click it. Within the code tab you will find like generate center option, so just enable it, generate center, and close. So now if you run your program, your application will be generated at the center point of your screen. See, so now it's a bit more professional. Okay, and we can play with it. Okay, exit. Okay, fine. Now I will go to this slide, because we have already seen that how to create a simple or even application, and how in doing so, or while doing so, how we can use that J button or the J label or JTextField, as well as how to create a small method for this application, and how we can call them. We have already seen everything. Now building a .jar file. So this I will talk about, that what is the jar file and why we need it. For example, when we are running this application, or when we are running this program, what is actually happening? That when we run our project or run our application, this application is always opening within the NetBeans environment, right? But now if the user doesn't have that NetBeans but still wants to access to this application, then he needs that jar file, because you cannot expect anyone or the user that you have built an application and then the user needs to install the NetBeans first and then he needs to access to this application, right? So it's not desired. So that's why we need to create the jar file, that without the help of this NetBeans IDE, the application could be opened. Okay, so how can we do that? So for that, I will just go this odd even app here, my project, and I will right click here. And if I right click here, I can go to its properties. And within the properties, I will go to this build section. Okay, and within this build section, I will go to this packaging. Okay, now within the packaging section, I will check this one, and I will suggest you to check everything. Okay, every option should be checked, and this is the location where your jar file, that is, you see I have, this is my project or application name or even app and .jar, and this will be saved within the dist folder of my project or application. Okay, so I will click OK then. And after clicking OK, again I will right click the name of my application and I will select this clean and build. Okay, clean and build. So when I have clicked that one, clean and build, you see that the jar file has been created within this dist folder. Okay, so now if I close my NetBeans event, I will close it. So there is no NetBeans running around. I will just go to my application folder, and within that application folder I have that dist folder, distribution, and within that distribution folder I have this jar file of my application. So if now any user clicks this jar file or double click it, the application can be opened even though the NetBeans is not active or NetBeans is not opened. So now if you can share this jar file to anyone and show them that yes, you have created your first application in Java using NetBeans IDE that can separate a number, or that can tell you a number is odd or even. For example, I can type 55 and check it. Yeah, the number is odd, or 100 number is even, or minus 98. So the application will take the absolute value as we've shown and it will return results here. And if the user makes a mistake entering a float number, the application will suggest entering an integer number. So yes, that is all about this tutorial. I hope you find this very helpful. And this is very exciting for the beginners. Like when I was a beginner, this was exciting to build an application with user interface and to be able to share it with my circles. That yeah, there's my first application. So not only a part of codings, that is a basic application with user interface. So I think you will find this helpful. And obviously if you find this helpful, please like, share and do subscribe for more. And if you have any queries regarding this tutorial, please hit the comment box, we're here to answer those. And as well, if you have any requests, just let us know. We will get back to you as soon as possible with your requested tutorial. Okay, so fine, this is for now. Bye bye, see you in next tutorial.